I am a regular babysitter. I'm a 16 years old girl, so it's basically my job. I was babysitting my mom's best friend's nieces, and they're 6 and 9. So the younger one also gets tantrums that fit the description of an exorcism. She has a condition with her legs and arms, so she can't bend them all the way like we can normally. She is extremely violent and gets pissed off easily. So, the parents basically don't give a shit about the kids and gave me like $200 just for food and candy for them plus $100 for babysitting overnight. So here I am babysitting the kids, and the younger one starts picking up the dog, and the dog bites her lightly, as if to say, dude, leave me alone for a sec, and she gets pissed off and starts hitting the dog, and I immediately get the dog away from her, and she starts jumping on my back and hitting my sides with her feet, and I get pissed off, so I push her off and put her on the sofa and say, if you're not sitting in the exact same spot when I come back, I'll call your parents, and she looks genuinely scared and promises to stay. I go to let the dog out in the yard and hear a small giggle and run to the sofa to scold her, but she's reading and looks like she hasn't moved, and already there I start thinking ghost, but I of course try to blow it off and say it was her or the wind or just me. So I forget all about the open door, and I go to the kitchen and order pizza and feel something tug at my hip and look down to find nothing there and just brush it off again and go out to get the dog, and again. When I get to the door to the yard, I see it's closed and locked, and the dog is standing there looking extremely terrified. Now I think, okay, definitely ghost, because the yard is child-proof, because or else the psycho kid would run out all the time. I let the dog in and pretend not to be scared shitless. The oldest girl is playing with their guinea pigs in their room, and the younger one all of a sudden becomes sweet and cuddles up to me with her covers and asks me to read to her, and eventually falls asleep. I watch TV for a while until I see something run past me out of the corner of my eye. There's nothing there, but I assume it's the older girl, even though I still have the ghost thing in the back of my mind, so I go check on her. She is asleep on their small sofa in their room, and all of a sudden I hear the loudest piercing scream from downstairs, and the older girl also wakes up and sees me in her room and yells for her sister as we both run downstairs. When we get down there, the smaller girl is crying, saying someone pulled her hair, and starts fighting with her older sister, saying it was her, and I pick her up and call their parents, telling them to get home now because something is in the house and it's evil. They're drunk as fuck, and I call my mom's best friend and tell him to come pick us up. We wait around 5 to 8 minutes until a huge knock comes from the door, and I know he would knock 3 times because that's what we always do to let each other know that it's us even at home, so I am so terrified trying not to let it show for these girls. By the way, we already ate pizza, so it wasn't the pizza man. And one of the girls starts screaming at the top of her lungs, pointing towards the window, and the older one and I look, and they're both crying because there's a fucking face staring at us smiling, and I run as fast as I can with one girl on my hip and the other in my hand, and we run upstairs, and I instruct them to take all the covers and pillows and make a fort to protect us while I cover up the windows and push their tiny sofa in front of the door. I hear the dog outside the door barking to get in, so I quickly let it in and glance towards the window, and the face is gone. While we were huddled up under the covers waiting for my mom's friend, I had a lot of time to think, and I kept thinking that I read somewhere that demons take the shape of children to lure in their prey, and I think that was the giggle I heard. Eventually the friend arrives, and we run downstairs, and they spend the night at my house with my mom and her friend. I've babysat them at my house ever since. And every single time I babysit, I am scared shitless walking into a new house with new babies in case it happens again. I know it sounds bizarre, and trust me, I wouldn't believe the story myself if I heard it, but I am getting paranoid just writing it here, and I wish it was a made-up story. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Well, 2 times I babysat. Once with an actual baby, he was 1 at the time, and I house sat / puppy sat for a friend another time, done a few others, but these 2 were the creepiest. The 1-year-old. I was friends with his mom and aunt, actually more of a friend of the aunt, and I was visiting. The sister needed a ride and asked if I could stay to watch her kid while my friend, her sister, drove her to get a few things. I said sure, mainly because she had already put him to bed and it shouldn't be any work at all. This was around 7 p.m. They leave, and about 15 minutes later I hear a thump. Now both of their rooms are next to each other, and my friend has her cat locked in her room because her sister and I have allergies to the cat. Anyway, I just assume it's the cat and continue to watch TV in the living room. Then 5 more minutes go by and I hear another smaller thump. So I go and check on the cat first. I know, kind of a bad move. But I was thinking logically it was the cat, and I figured if I calmed it down it would stop acting out and not wake up the kid. Well, I open up the door and the cat is asleep on my friend's pillow. At first I thought the little jerk was just pretending or something, and while staring at the cat I hear the thump again, but this time it's clear that it's coming from the other room where the kid is. I immediately freak out thinking the kid fell out of his crib or something. And before I could even close my friend's door, the cat freaks out and hides under the bed, and the kid in the next room starts to cry. Which definitely makes me feel like he did fall, so I shut the door and go to the next room, open the door quickly, and he's standing up in his crib crying. I feel relieved he didn't fall and go to calm him down. Now mind you, for some reason the electrical doesn't work so well in her room. The light switch doesn't work, so you have to turn on the floor lamp by hand, so I'm in a dark room, minus the smallest night light, with a crying baby. It then dawns on me what the hell was making that noise. So I turn on the light and look around. Her closet is open and some stuff seems moved around, but nothing that looked like it fell several times or anything like that. So I close the closet. The kid is asleep still, so I open the door some more and the closet is open. Now it's a sliding door closet, which isn't as creepy as a walk-in closet with an actual door, but closets in general are creepy, especially at night. Anyway, my first instinct is to run. LOL, but I man up, go check out the closet to see what could have opened it or whatever, and nothing. I just told myself maybe it's a mouse or something. A big mouse that can open the closet door. So like I said, I closed it up, checked on the kid, still left the light on, and went back to the living room. Not even 5 minutes go by and he's crying. And there was no noise this time, so I figured maybe it was a normal baby cry, like the light was bothering him or he peed or something. So I go in again. This time the closet is only opened a little bit. I'm extremely freaked out. I've already texted my friend telling them to get the hell back home. So I go toward the closet door to close it. My hand reaches for the edge, and then I hear a small thump, and then one of those baby police car toys that have the siren sound effect goes off in the closet. I open it up slowly, and there it was, just going off. The kid is still crying his head off, and I know for damn sure that his toy was not in the closet. So I take it out, put it away, and close the closet door. I put the kid back to sleep and wait in the room with him. He didn't go back to sleep, but I could tell he tired himself out with the crying fit he had. He laid there staring at me, almost like, get me the hell out of here. I felt uneasy in that room, like someone or something was watching me, and was pissed off, especially from the area where the closet was. So after about 15 minutes of waiting in the room, I stand up and start to head out. The light then turns off, which is odd since you have to turn it off manually since the wall switch doesn't work. I figured the bulb blew out or something, so I walk over using what little light the night light offered as a guide toward the lamp. After I got to the lamp, I heard the closet door sliding open. I don't think I've ever been so scared in my life. And my instincts kicked and like turn on the light. And I felt for the switch on the damn lamp to turn it on, hoping it would. And it did. Looking back, I was both relieved and creeped out that the bulb didn't burn out and that it somehow turned off by itself. Anyway, the light was back on. I turned around and luckily nothing, or rather I didn't anything there. I grabbed the kid, shut the closet again, shut the door to the room behind me, and held him in the living room till his mom and my friend got back, almost 9 p.m. At first she was pissed that I took him out of his crib and that he was awake, but I was like, you need an exorcist or someone to bless your house, cause things aren't okay here. I don't think she really believed me. She said she noticed some small things happening, but nothing to that effect. That was almost a year ago, and apparently nothing that drastic happened again. Weird stuff happens to me and around me often. I've been told I was a magnet for these things before. So, I'm not sure if whatever happened because I was there, or maybe I brought it with me or activated it or whatever. They did do a prayer of some kind to try and bless the house/apartment. Maybe that helped. Well, okay, I think I wrote enough, so I'll save the puppy sitting story for another time. I live in a rural area, and the nearest Walmart and Target are about 30 minutes away, just to give an example. So my friend at the time, who lives in another small town nearby up in the mountains, a town called Wrightwood, asked me to puppy sit/house sit. I agreed, a free mini vacation away from home, and I actually liked the dog. A big sweet-hearted black lab mix named Lainey, *Lainey, or however she spelt it. Anyway, I drove up to the house, saw my friend off, and made myself at home, and after settling in, I took the dog out for a walk. This was about 3 p.m., so the sun was still out, but it was cooler and shadier out. Anyway, we get back home. I make myself some dinner and then feed the dog her dinner. I turn on the TV and I ended up dozing off for a bit. When I woke up, it was later at night, around 9 p.m. or so. I get up to walk around and stretch. Lainey was sleeping on the floor by me and stayed in her spot even after I got up to move. I decided to take a tour of the house since I didn't really get one when I arrived, since my friend was leaving shortly after I arrived. So it was a decent sized house, 2 bathrooms and 4 rooms, including the master bedroom. The master bedroom was on the left side of the house all by itself with an ensuite bathroom. The other 3 rooms were on the opposite side of the house, down along the hallway. And at the end of the hallway was the other bathroom. In the middle of the house was the kitchen and dining/living room. My friend had just recently moved in. She was there about a month, but had only lived in it for like 3 weeks due to business trips. The house also had some big windows too, which made it kind of creepy at night, especially because the windows in the living room, which faced the small backyard, didn't have curtains or blinds. Not that she had any neighbors behind her, but still it was a little creepy. So I look around. The 3 extra rooms were just being used as storage at the time being. One she was going to make into an office, and either one or both of the others into guest rooms. After I was done, I closed all the doors back up like they were. I checked the rest of the house for my lockdown procedure. I turn off all the lights, the kitchen, and go back to watching TV. Midnight rolls around and Lainey starts whining, so I let out in the backyard to go pee. She runs around sniffing and whatever usual dog stuff. I'm freezing cold standing in the doorway asking her to hurry up when I hear a crashing noise from inside. It gets my attention and even Lainey's. So I turn around, peek my head in to see if it happened in the kitchen or living room. I can't see anything and just figure something fell in one of the rooms. Lainey finishes and comes, and I close up behind her and decide to go down the hallway and see what fell over. Lainey followed me to the entrance of the hallway, but then stopped and started to whimper. Her tail went between her legs and she started to growl a bit. At first I thought maybe she was growling and scared of me because I didn't turn on the hall light, so it was dark, so maybe she didn't recognize me, so I called out to her so she would know it was me, but she was still scared. So I open up the first door and looks around, and nothing seems to fallen over. I leave, close the door, look over at Lainey, who is now laying on the floor at the entrance of the hallway still whimpering. I open up the other room across the hall, same thing, everything looked fine. Closed the door and went into the third room. There I found a box had fallen over. I go and pick everything up and move the box elsewhere. Then I noticed the window was open a bit. So I scared myself thinking someone broke in. But I realized how dumb that was because there wasn't anywhere to find in the room, and I would have heard the door opening and or closing if they left the room. I close up the window, lock it, check the other windows, and lock them up too. I go back out to watch TV and Lainey lies down by my feet and seems better now. I start to doze off again. I'm about to fall asleep and then Lainey just starts barking and acting berserk over by the hallway. Barking at the dark. I'm half asleep and freaking out, think, oh no, someone did get in. I go over and turn on all the lights, and I noticed that the third bedroom door was opened a little bit, the same room where the box fell. So as a cliche, I panic, go to the kitchen, grab a kitchen knife, and go to the room. The window was still closed and nothing seemed out of place. I go check all the other rooms and bathroom, and even the master and its bathroom. No one to be found. I put away the knife and see that it's 2 a.m. I decide to head to bed. I was staying in the master bedroom. Lainey came with me, and I closed the master bedroom door. I just had this feeling that I should. I get into bed. Lainey goes to her little corner where her bed is, and I try to fall asleep. I wake up to a huge slamming noise. I'm all disoriented and Lainey is barking and jumps on the bed and barks toward the door. I get up and try to calm her down. I get my glasses on and go see what it was. It sounded like a door being slammed shut. I get out to the living room. Everything looked fine, same with the kitchen. I get to the hallway and all the doors are closed, but in the third bedroom the light is on. I can see it coming near the bottom of the door. I then hear growling. I turn around and it's Lainey. The hair on the back of her neck was straight up and her teeth were showing like she was ready to tear someone apart. I whisper, good girl, get ready to attack. I creep over to the door. I waved at Lainey to come over, but she didn't, so I knew I was truly in this alone. I opened the door and no one's there. Now I know I turned off the light and I know I locked up the house. But the light was on and the boxes had been moved around. Almost like they had been thrown, but none of them opened up. It was just freaking me out. I noticed it was 3:15 a.m., so I heard the slamming noise at 3 a.m. since it did take me a few minutes to build up the courage to leave the master bedroom and to open up the other room. I turn off the light, close the door, and go back to the master bedroom. I couldn't sleep. I had the small TV on in my friend's room. Lainey was on the bed with me and I just couldn't relax. Finally, around 6:30 a.m., the sunlight was peeking in and my eyes were getting heavy. I felt like it was okay enough to go get some sleep. So, my friend was due back later that evening, so I knew I had some time to sleep during the morning, then get up and look like I've been somewhat productive that day. So I get my sleep and finally Lainey wakes me up whining her usual whine to go pee. I get up and let her outside. I see that it's noon and go back inside and look around the house. I get to the hallway and all the doors are wide open. I peek in each one and no one's in them. I close all the doors and watch TV, feeling like I'm being watched. Asterisk P.S. Lainey was back inside with me again. So I'm watching TV. I get a text from my friend saying she'll be home even earlier and is actually on her way home. I'm thrilled, but also worried for her. And an hour and a half later she gets home and she asks how Lainey was, and I told her she was amazing, and then I sort of go quiet and sort of mumble something like, but your house wasn't. She was like, what? And I told her straightforward, weird shit happened last night and either you have an invisible ninja kicking around boxes in your house or there's something ghostly here. Well, she finally comes clean and tells me that the house is like 60 years old, so it has a history. An old man passed away there in the master bedroom. Some kid went missing from the house back in the day, some other weird shit. I tell her that it felt like something else. I didn't feel the old man's presence or a missing kid that may have been killed. This was something dark. Or felt like it. I don't know, she didn't end up staying too long after anyway. She got tired of commuting back and forth from the city and ended up finding a place down there for her and Lainey. And BTW, she was just renting the house, she didn't buy it, so she was able to go without having to worry about selling the house or anything like that. I've driven by the house a couple times since then. I still get a weird vibe from there. Well, that's my story. Probably lame, lol. But it felt scarier for me then when I babysat the little boy. The house was slightly isolated and I was alone except for a dog. At least the other time I was in an apartment complex, so lots of people around to hear me scream for help if needed, and I had the kid with me, which I could carry if I had to run for my life, lol. So, yeah. Also, I remember that when I had dozed off the few times on the couch, I felt like something was standing over me. And one of the times I woke up on the couch, I felt like someone had been touching me or grabbing my arm. It was weird.